皆さん、こんにちは。ナチュラルラングエッジラーニングへようこそ。私の名前はミケルです。私は日本語を勉強しています。先週から勉強始めました。3ヶ月後、日本語を学ぶつもりです。あいつか日本旅行したいです。言語を早く覚えます。奥の言語を話せます。でもまだ日本語を上手話せません。これから英語を話します。That's pretty good, I think. It's almost a minute that I spoke for the seventh day of learning. It's not bad, right? Well, I really learned for 5 days, not seven. I'm about to tell you about that. But yeah, there was a day during the weekend in which I didn't do anything. Still counts, obviously. If I say Japanese in 90 days and then I take 20 days off in between, that's my fault. It's not that, yeah, I should have learned those days. But yeah, today I did zero learning because, well, things happen and I had an emergency and I spent the whole day out of the house doing stuff, personal things, and yeah, zero learning. So and now I'm going to have to work because work I need to get paid. So unfortunately, zero learning today. Luckily, tomorrow's a weekend, so I will. Yeah, I will start week two with a bang. I'll try to do way more the second week than I did in the first because out of 7 days, I took one of them easy. Looking at the notes, first one I took it very easy, and then I worked pretty hard for a couple of days. But I've also taken one because I wanted to, and the other one because I had to. So 2 days off, one easy day, 3 days of hard work. I would say. No, that doesn't. That's not my thing. Yeah, 4 days of hard work. Well, semi hard. A couple of them of really hard work, and then a couple of them of decent work. One of lazy work and or like filling out process first day, and 2 days off. Next week, this second week, I'll try to. And I'm looking at my calendar. I'll try to do 7 out of 7 and work really hard the weekend because I want to improve. A lot of people are using the cool. This is a shared document, by the way. If you think I was reading from here, you can go back, check what I said, and these are all random sentences to learn vocab and grammar. None of it was here. This is all. I was talking about. Well, if you speak some Japanese, I was talking about like, welcome to my channel, blah blah blah. My name is Mikkel. I'm learning Japanese. I've been learning. I don't know what I said. I've been learning for a week. Still don't speak very well. All that kind of stuff. And then I'll switch to English. None of that is here. I wasn't reading. All of this is you can access it, by the way, like all these people are, and the audio files are coming. So if you want to start shadowing and or simply listening to it, you can go to the link in the description, download this, or just use it online. Please don't try to edit it. Uh, if you try to ruin it for everyone, first of all, it won't work because I've got I've got a copy somewhere else. But also, just don't be a dick, right? Um, but yeah, if you want to learn Japanese, this is what you can do. So, what have I done the first week? Well, I've done a lot of listening and repeating or shadowing. So, lots and lots of reps, listening and repeating sentences. My own language islands that specifically prepared for conversation. Well, I didn't prepare much for Japanese. It's just sentences that I've got for other languages, and I just started learning Ukrainian, and I just if I know how to say Japanese in Japanese, and just can change, like reuse, copy and paste those, and reuse the same language islands for every new language, right? I'll create specific ones for Japanese, for cultural stuff and things like that. But for the most part, just the same ones. But yeah, language islands. Some glossical though, and it's fun to do listening and repeating because speaking Japanese is fun. But I'm not going to do that for now because when you don't know anything at all or very little in terms of vocabulary and grammar, just very random sentences like that's not very effective. So instead, what I'm going to do is just learn this, which I started, and then I got excited about speaking, and I did mostly listening and repeating stuff instead of focusing on learning, instead of following the plan and learning the 2,000 verbs, which I'll do now. Well, I'll start after this. Nah, maybe I don't have the time tomorrow, but yeah, I learned the first few hundred, but I'm going to memorize the whole list. That's a plan for week two. So mnemonic associations for the whole thing, for all the vocab, and yeah, then listen to it while shadowing. So like I listen to it, I'll follow it here, and I'll say it while I'm listening to it a couple of times, and then I'll just binge listen to it and listen and repeat over and over. I create two different types of audio files for this. One in which there's everything, like all sentences, one time each from start to finish, yeah, everything in one go. That's good for reviewing. When you're trying to shadow, that's going to be too difficult. So instead, use the second one, which is each sentence 5 times. So you have this one 5 times, this one 5 times, this one 5 times. So I did my homework, and well, I don't know how to pronounce this without hearing it, but shukudai o yachita, and you say it over and over and over while hearing it 5 times. And then next one, next one, next one. This is way slower, but in the beginning, after memorizing the words, even without memorizing the words, this will work, but less effective. If you memorize the words first, it'll stick much better. But if you do this daily, like 5 reps with each sentence, not the whole list because that would be 10,000 reps a day, which is insane. But you know, you can do, I don't know, 1,000, 2,000 reps in total. So 200, 400 sentences reviewed, and then you just keep listening to them. Um, if you just listen to the list without doing anything else, you will not retain much. But if you listen to it on a daily basis, while also, if you have memorized the vocab and if you have been doing a lot of shadowing with it and 5 times each and all that, you'll remember a lot. The more you do it, the more you remember. And yeah, you learn thousands, first hundreds, and then thousands of words in general, and specifically verbs, which are extremely important when learning a language. So the plan is I'll memorize this. The audio files are coming, so I'll binge listen to them, and I'll do massive amounts of listening and repeating or shadowing with them. I'll do the same with another 100 of my own sentences, my language islands. I'll keep adding, I don't know, 100 a week of that. It's my own sentences, so they're pretty easy to memorize in any language. I highly recommend you do that. Maybe I'll give you a little a bunch of them that I've used, so you see how well they work. But those should be personal. Um, you should try your own because obviously my life is not your life, and I don't talk the same way you talk, and I don't talk about the things you talk about. So we don't have the same experiences, the same interests. So write about. Basically, I've got a bunch of stuff written, prepared to talk about basically anything that I've done, that I talk about, I experienced, except something that's about to happen, future events that I cannot predict. Everything else, at some point, I wrote it down, so it's all there. So that time when I worked in a restaurant and I did this and that, it's there. That time when I was, well, so yeah, I've got all of that, and that's when it comes to conversation. Those will take you way further than just doing random stuff. But this is for comprehension. If you don't know massive amounts of vocabulary and specifically verbs, you will not understand input. So some of you really want to do comprehensible input. I highly recommend cramming this, learn a couple thousand verbs and 5 to 10,000 words the hard way first, and then do interesting input only interesting input, not just beginner nonsense. Because if you do the beginner nonsense, you'll stay for years doing at the beginner level doing the beginner nonsense. But if you like, Mark goes to the shop, he buys a cat, and blah 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 blah. If instead you do this, in 20 hours you understand of this, you'll know a lot, and then in 100 you probably know everything, and you can just listen to normal content and enjoyable content, real life stuff. Maybe not fiction like films and things like that, because those are weird in a way. They've got different. What I recommend you do is do this first. Jump to things like non-fiction, podcast, conversation, and from there then to films and things like that, because those have their own way of saying things sometimes that it's not the way people speak, and it's going to be difficult. But do whatever you want. But I highly recommend you do this before any kind of well, without wasting time with input for beginners. And if you obviously if you jump straight away to authentic input, it's going to be extremely difficult to understand. You could try every day, and then you study this list really hard, and then you do some listening to authentic materials. And every day you do slightly less of the list and slightly more of the authentic materials. That's also a good approach. You can use 5-10 minutes of authentic materials to see how much you understand. You can test yourself, and you keep doing that after each session, and you can motivate yourself by seeing how much more you understand every day than the previous days. I guarantee that if you work really hard on this list and you listen to authentic materials a little bit every day, you notice that from day to day, you notice that you understand more. But you have to the the real breakthrough will come through this, not through input and just like be exposed to content. That's going to take years, and even then, you're not going to speak well, and uh, it's very slow. So do it if you want, but you're wasting your time. Uh, if you want to, and I enjoy watching documentaries and listening to podcasts and things like that, but I make sure that I understand at least 90% of what I'm listening to before I start doing that, because otherwise it's just not enjoyable. Anyway, I do it in very small doses to give myself like a taste of, okay, this is sounds cool. I got this, I got that. If I work harder on this, eventually I understand everything sooner rather than later. So I'll keep studying, and then maybe the next day I'll try listening to it a little bit more. And yeah, but it shouldn't be the main way of learning. Anyway, enough input bashing. Let's go back to yeah. So plan is right. Yeah, 2,000 verbs. I'll try to memorize the whole thing. Lots and lots of listening and repeating with this, and reviewing the list. 100 more language islands that I'll learn with my own sentences. I'll do at least 10,000 reps of shadowing. It's not that much. It's 1,500 a day or something like that. As long as I stay consistent. And when it comes to content, I'll, you see this here? This is coming. So what I'm going to do is, this is ready. So now I'm going to create really long lists, two different lists actually. One will be English translated to a long list of English sentences translated to Japanese. Probably not doesn't sound all that natural. And the other one will be all these verbs with AI, each one of them in as many forms and conjugations as possible, every possible one. So it'll be a much longer list. Each uh, each verb So there'll be 20, 10, 20, 30 sentences with one word, one verb. So like hit, 15 different sentences with hit in all its forms. So when you're reviewing by listening and repeating all that, you really, first of all, there's no way you don't learn that well after seeing it so many times in a row in different forms. You're also learning all the grammar doing this. That's where the grammar comes. You learn the grammar really well while doing this. You don't need to study the rules or anything like that. You, if you learn 20,000 sentences that include all the grammar, you know the grammar because each grammar point you have seen it at least a few hundred times. So and over again, and hundreds of uh, different versions. So you end up learning everything. You'll still make mistakes, but this is for comprehension. For um, precision when you're speaking, to make fewer mistakes. We'll talk about that later. And I don't particularly care that much with Japanese for now, but that would be if you want to get there, and if you're at an intermediate or advanced level in Japanese, what I recommend is downloading this and doing English into Japanese translation. Uh, Download a CSV file, flashcards, and always English into Japanese, and then you have to say it, and then you check, and okay, I said I messed up this word and that word, or like the order of words, and or the ending of the conjugation, whatever. This is how you constant uh, test. You try, you get feedback, you try again, you get feedback, you do it over and over. But we're very far from that. That's when you're at an intermediate or even advanced intermediate, I would say, level, and you want to make much fewer mistakes. But the first thing is understand the language, be able to speak, even if you speak like a Neanderthal, which some people say I look like. If you speak like knuckle dragger, me go place, we go cinema together, they still understand you. And because you're a foreigner, and you're speaking, and your accent's also not that bad if you've been doing lots of listening and repeating, they don't care that much. Your accent will, it's a halo effect. If your pronunciation is good, you can get away with having shit grammar, and they'll still say you're good at speaking the language. If your knowledge of grammar is great, but you're really struggling to form sentences, and your accent's not very good, and you're thinking before forming a sentence, they'll think you speak much worse than someone who has terrible grammar, makes lots of like all the conjugations are wrong, and uses the present when speaking in the past, and so on, but uses complete sentences and just with complete confidence, like just says whatever and with a good accent. So if you do lots of shadowing, you get there. But also the good thing about shadowing is that the sentences are correct. So you're repeating thousands of correct sentences aloud. So you are improving your grammar as well. But if you're worried about making lots of mistakes, and there was some guy in the comments the other day, yesterday, some he wrote, has to be a he. Like, by the way, he was writing. Well, there was a whole article there on like if you make mistakes, they'll make fun of you, and come on, whatever that stuff. Um, you just need to hang out with other people. If they give you nicknames for making mistakes, you're always going to make some mistakes. But yeah, if you're really really worried about making mistakes, and you can already speak some, you can have a basic conversation. Then start doing the retrieval practice, translating into the language. You can do it with this as well. Like he got uh, he got he got his dropped item back, and I was like, how do I say this? Let's say I don't know. I have no idea how to say that. So let's go. I did my homework. Shukudai or jach. Shukudai or yachchata. I'm like, how do I? Shukudai or and I say something else. And, okay, so I got this, but not this. Then I do the next one. And then I do the next one. And at the end, maybe later on I do another session. I do the whole list again, not the whole like where you left. Do 50 a day or 100 a day, whatever, how many you want. But um, review them regularly. Anki is great for this, but you can also do it here. Um, and yeah, just do that. So yeah, materials. Super long list of math sentences coming. Audios of this coming in both versions. Everything 5 times for shadowing and one normal one for reviewing, so that you can listen to the whole thing. Listening to the whole thing, 2,000 sentences should be a couple hours. So you can listen to it 5 or 10 times a week if you're really invested. And if you're also then doing the shadowing, you can have it on, and it's kind of boring because it's just really it's robotic sounding and artificial, but it's effective as long as you're doing everything else. Anyway, I think I'm repeating myself a lot, so I'm going to end the video here. Except, yeah, one last thing: audios for the mass sentences. Mass sentences coming next week. Hopefully for Monday, everything will be ready. Lots of sentences with all the grammar. Audio for those coming as well, but it's a massive amount of text, so it's going to take longer. But I'll get it ready. All right. Any suggestions, questions you've got, let me know. And yeah, let's keep learning Japanese together. Also, if there's some smarters in the comments, my Japanese sucks, whatever. It's month one, all right? Not even month one. It's week one. So let's talk about it in December, all right? I think for a week we spoke for about a minute, and I could have continued with a bunch of stuff that's not really related. But anyway, let's not focus on okay, how much week one is it? This is I know it's I always speak against that, but like the marathon thing. It's not a marathon, but it's like it's not a 10-meter run either. So it's something in between. You should try to learn fast, but so there aren't many miracles either. Next week, I think I did around a minute of speaking. Next week I'll do 2 minutes. First month, end of first month I'll do 5 minutes. Next week I'll just talk nonsense. But end of the first month maybe I'll do a video in Japanese, like 5 to 10 minutes. Then just keep increasing the amount I can speak. Right? So any questions, let me know. Who is this? Yeah, maybe I shouldn't be Devin. Okay. I shouldn't be docs, not docs. Who cares? Who cares who's using my anyway. See you later.